welcome back to my pregnancy vlogs and updates. There is so much to catch you up on 31 weeks and 32 weeks since there was a little incident that held me back from basically filming my 31-week update for you guys. So I'm going to actually put these in 2 videos, that way it's not too long just because I can get pretty winded and combining 2 weeks might be the longest video ever. So 31 weeks will be one video, 32 weeks will obviously be another. So I am officially 33 weeks. So let's jump right into what baby and I were up to on week 31. So week 31 proved to be a true test of physical and emotional strength, I guess you could say. So it started off wonderful. My husband and I went to Cabo for a work event and obviously tagged on a little bit of play just because it's Cabo and how can you not. So it was fabulous. We were there for 4 days. I felt great the entire time I was there. It was definitely hot, but it's Mexico in June, so what else can you expect? So I was planning on having this be my last trip. Technically I can travel up to 36 weeks, which would bring me to the end of July, but I just was, thinking ahead, and I just knew that I probably wouldn't want to be traveling that late in my pregnancy because those airport bathrooms definitely are getting a little bit smaller. But that's not even really the reason. It's just hard to travel. So I had planned to go to Mexico, and then my great friends in Colorado were throwing me a baby shower, so I was flying straight from Cabo to Denver. Well, I should preface, not straight. This is probably aiding in what happened to me later on. So we have a great time in Cabo, and I have a crazy travel day. This is a Wednesday, and we flew from Cabo like in the afternoon. I had a layover in LA, and then it was only like a 45-minute layover, so it was not a big deal. And then flew from LA to Denver. So would land around 9 o'clock in Denver. Turns out that something happened where my flight was going to be delayed and I wasn't going to be put on that flight, and there was another one leaving at around 8:45 or 9, so I would get into Denver around, I don't know, you do the time zone math. I was just getting in a whole lot later. So it ended up being kind of a long travel day. Well, I am so used to it, and if you follow me on Instagram, if you've watched any of these previous vlogs, you know that I am such an advocate for drinking a ton of fluids, whether pregnant or not. So I have been used to drinking 64 ounces of water every single day leading up to Mexico. Well, going into Mexico, yes, I'm drinking, bottled water, to stay on the safe side, but I'm just not drinking nearly enough. So after this travel day, and obviously I'm on the plane, I'm not really pounding water there because, again, being pregnant, you have to pee every 2 seconds, so drinking more water means that you have to pee that much more. So it's just very annoying, and yes, looking back, who cares? So I land in Denver, feel fine, go straight to bed, staying at my parents' house, thank goodness. So I wake up Thursday morning, and I wasn't feeling quite myself, I wasn't 100%, but I just thought that was because I was, in Mexico and I had just traveled, I was exhausted. I go to my dentist appointment, and TMI, but I was just having diarrhea that morning. Obviously I'm thinking diarrhea. I just came back from Mexico. It was probably the Subway sandwich that I ate at the airport. Not a good idea. But I'm just thinking, chalk it up to that, right? Take an Imodium, I'd be a-okay. That wasn't the case. Go to my dentist appointment, come back. By the way, no cavities, no gum sensitivity. Passed that test. Yeah, so I get back to my parents' house, and I was just kind of taking it easy, getting some work done there, and then I had to get ready for this event that was happening that night. Well, I just progressively got worse and worse, and by that I mean I just wasn't eating, I didn't have an appetite, I was drinking a little bit of fluid but not nearly enough water as I probably should have been, and then I had my dad go get me some ginger ale, and I was eating dry toast and stuff because of the diarrhea. That is just such an awful word, by the way. I don't know why that bothers me. Diarrhea. I just kept feeling worse and worse, and I looked at the clock, and I had to be at this event at around 7 o'clock, and at this point it was like 2:30, 3 o'clock. My mom was home, but she works at this, she's basically a tutor, a reading tutor for little kids, like little 4-year-olds. And so she had to go to work and left me on the couch, miserable, sipping the ginger ale, and was like, if you're not feeling 100%, you shouldn't go to this event tonight. And I, was like, no, I'll be okay, I'll just get in the shower and I'll be fine. Well, time progresses, my dad is just looking at me like, you are just not in any shape to be doing anything tonight. You look miserable. Well, I was, and I was having stomach aches, like stomach pains on the top portion of my stomach. So let me just reach up here. So like right up here, right under where my boobs are, and the top of my belly, I was having really weird like stomach pains, but again, I was just thinking it was because of, a little bug that I had caught. Well, it started to get worse and I started getting chills. I started just feeling achy. So I'm like, great, I probably have the flu. Well, I mean, I haven't had a flu shot in 5 years. I haven't had the flu in I don't even know how long, a long time. And now I'm getting the flu. Awesome. So I kept getting worse and I would have to shift positions. It was horrible feeling. And I'm usually, a pretty well manageable sick person, but this was just a whole different story. My dad left to go pick up my mom from work because they had left me their car to borrow for that event that I was going to. Turns out I could not even go. So she comes home and walks in the door and just looks at me like, oh my God, this is not okay. Like, you don't look good. We need to call your doctor. So at this point, I'm trying to drink more water. We're on the phone with my doctor here in Southern California. Then we have to talk to somebody else because I'm out of region for where my insurance is accepted, but it's still the same insurance company and I can, whatever. So we're just trying to figure out what hospital I could go to if I needed to. At this point, it's like 7:30 and we talked to an amazing advice nurse, after hours advice nurse, who was just saying, due to your symptoms, due to the way you're feeling, and what it sounds like is that you're really severely dehydrated. And you can take Imodium, you can try to keep down fluids. Well, as we're on the phone with her, I am drinking water and I'm like, I can't talk, I gotta go, and I just threw up all the water that I had just drank. So I wasn't even keeping down water, which is a horrible sign. So she's like, just to play it on the safe side, you need to go to the emergency room. Call ahead, they'll know you're coming, you'll go up to L&D, labor and delivery, and we'll get you taken care of. Well, it's 8 o'clock at this point, and I'm just like, you know what, I think I'll be okay if I just go to sleep, I'll be fine. And that was not happening with my mom and dad. They were like, you are not gonna be stubborn, and you have a baby now to think of, so you should go. So we hopped in the car and it was about 8:30 Mountain Time, and I was driving to the hospital with my family. My husband was in Phoenix. He was about to go on stage to perform, so I called his assistant and I was just like, don't freak him out when he gets off stage, but just let him know to call me or call my mom because I'm going to the hospital. Sure enough, he was like, an hour later, was like, what's going on? But anyway, he was super great through the whole thing. And scared, I'm sure, being out of state. But knew I was in good hands with my family, of course. And so we headed to the hospital that I was actually born at, St. Joseph's Hospital in Denver, Colorado, and it was scary, to say the least. Like, I felt fine in the car ride, but then we pulled up, they had to bring a wheelchair out, go through the emergency room, and as I'm going through the emergency room, I'm just getting flushed with emotion, like, what's going on? Why do I feel so horrible? Why am I having these stomach cramps like every 10-15 minutes? Hello, light bulb goes off, not till later. But so we go and we get checked in, and it's just kind of a process, and 3 other girls are walking in, having labor pains, and they're ready to, be seen in the triage to be led into labor and delivery to have their babies, and I'm in this wheelchair like, oh my God, this is crazy. So they admit me, and I go into this triage room where there's only 4 rooms, and they start to monitor me. So they hook up one monitor for my monitoring, and then the baby's heartbeat. and they're monitoring contractions and what's going on with him. They come in and they're like, yeah, you are severely, they hear I was in Mexico the day before or whatever, and they were just like, okay, you're dehydrated. So they hooked me up with an IV. Normally I've gotten, you know, blood drawn out of here. The IV actually goes on this part, and it's a bigger vein. And it hurts a little bit more, but nothing crazy. So I was in just a lot of pain from these pains I was having. So that was no big deal. They hook up an IV. I go through one single bag of IV fluids in 20 minutes. They wanted to get it through my system super fast. So they bring you warm blankets because you get chilled when fluids are going through you that fast. A good sign was that I was able to use the restroom during that time, but they were like, we need to hook you up with another bag. You need another, you know, bag of fluids, and then we need to reevaluate you once we get your blood through the lab and evaluated by the doctor. I don't know, it's like a couple hours later, or actually the first bag, it was like 30 minutes later, and they came in and said those stomach pains that you're feeling are actually contractions. Duh. So I was like, okay, what does that mean? And holy crap, do those hurt. And these weren't even real contractions, people, so we'll get into that later. They said, yeah, I'm contracting. They showed me on the monitor. His heartbeat was fine the entire time. He was doing somersaults and kicking, and he was just having a heyday in there. He was just a little thirsty, I'm assuming. This dehydration was causing my uterus to contract. So they had to then send in a doctor to give me an ultrasound. Not fun. I mean, normally now at this stage they do the ultrasound from the outside. They had to do an internal ultrasound, which whatever, it is what it is, but it just is a little scary in that moment because you're like, oh gosh, they have to like really figure out if my cervix is dilating and if I'm going into preterm labor. Waited for that. They came in, they took a picture of my cervix, said it was a beautiful cervix and it was fully closed and it was not dilated at all, so that meant I was not going into labor, which was such a sigh of relief. But let me just say that waiting for that doctor to come in to take that picture, I got really scared because I'm just thinking of all these things. I'm in Colorado. Thank God I was with my family, but I was in Colorado. If they put me on bed rest, like, I'm in Colorado. What does that mean? There's so much going on back here at home in Southern California, and my husband's not there. And then what if I am going into labor? I'm gonna have this baby at 31 weeks, and oh, it was just a flood of emotion. And thank goodness everything ended up being okay. I was not going into labor. They gave me another bag of fluids, and then they gave me a pill of potassium and said if I could keep that potassium down, then I could go home. And sure enough, blood work came back. I was severely dehydrated. My white blood cells were, I think they were really high. Does that mean like they're fighting off infection? I can't quite remember my 7th grade biology, but I feel like if your white blood cell count is high, then they're working overtime to try to fight something off. So I had a little bit of a bug. They were fighting against that. Potassium was low, magnesium was low, which meant I was dehydrated. And yeah, so after that second bag, I felt so much better. And the doctors and nurses just kept saying, God, you look so much better than when you came in here. So that was a good sign. So I started getting hungry, which was also a good sign. So I ate an apple, a banana, and some crackers. And then once that second bag of IV fluids was done, I was able to go home. Saturday was my baby shower, which I felt 100% better. Well, I should say like 90% better, but being around my friends, my mom was there, just seeing everybody's faces and celebrating baby boy again is what I needed. And it was a super mellow baby shower, which was great. There was no games being played. There was great food, great company, and it just was a really, really nice day to kind of cap off that whole situation. Moral of the story, practice what you preach and drink water, Renee. So I learned my lesson. Yes, I was still drinking water, but I was not drinking nearly enough of what my body was used to. So that is what happened to me in 31 weeks. We'll skip over all the other stuff because I think this is just what affected me the most. But I'm back and I'm feeling great. We're moving. You can't really see around me, but I am in like Chernobyl here. But we're moving into the new house slowly but surely, but I'm taking everything so easy and I'm just pointing at things like that need to be moved, and which is kind of hard because I want to get things done and I want to nest so bad, but we have to wait for a few things to be installed in the new house before we can actually move in. That is what happened in 31 weeks. Let me know if you've ever experienced dehydration. It is not fun. Check out the next video. It'll be up kind of around the same time so you can watch them back to back, and I will see you guys later. Bye.